Elvis Presley sold over 1 billion records worldwide. He starred in 31 feature films and made television history with his 1968 comeback special. The FBI kept a 683-page file on him. He never performed a single concert outside North America, despite his global fame. Number 10. He could move like nobody else. When Elvis first appeared on television screens across America in the 1950s, parents were horrified while teenagers went wild. What was causing all the commotion? His hips, of course. Elvis Presley moved in ways that no white performer had dared to before. His swiveling hips and energetic performances were so controversial that early TV appearances often filmed him only from the waist up. On his third appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show in January 1957, cameras were specifically instructed to shoot him from the waist up to avoid showing his provocative dance moves. But there was more to Elvis's movements than just scandal. His dancing borrowed heavily from the black performers he admired and the Southern gospel services he attended. He combined these influences into something entirely new that captured the rebellious spirit of the emerging teenage culture. While other performers of the era stood still or made minimal movements while singing, Elvis threw his entire body into the performance. He would shake, shimmy, and gyrate in ways that made audiences lose their minds. His performances were physical, visceral experiences that transformed the very idea of what a musical concert could be. "I don't know what I do while I'm on stage," Elvis once admitted. "It's almost like I'm outside myself, watching what I'm doing." This raw, uninhibited performance style would influence generations of rock performers who followed him from Mick Jagger to Michael Jackson. Number 9. He had that unmistakable voice. Before Elvis came along, popular male vocalists like Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra, and Perry Como sang with smooth, controlled voices. Elvis shattered that mold with a vocal style that could swing from a tender whisper to a primal howl in the same song. His voice contained multitudes, the gospel fervor of his religious upbringing, the raw emotion of rhythm and blues, the twang of country and western, and something indefinably his own. Music critics have spent decades trying to analyze what made his voice so special and so instantly recognizable. With a 3-octave vocal range, Elvis could belt out rockers like Jailhouse Rock with fierce intensity, or croon ballads like Love Me Tender with heart-making vulnerability. His voice had a natural tremolo and an ability to slide between notes that made it impossible to imitate effectively. Sam Phillips, the legendary producer who first recorded Elvis at Sun Records, had famously said he was looking for a white man who had the Negro sound and the Negro feel. When he discovered Elvis, he knew he had found something even more unique. A vocalist who could authentically perform across multiple genres while maintaining his distinctive sound. "I don't sound like nobody," Elvis once said, and he was right. Whether he was singing rock and roll, country gospel, or pop ballads, that voice was unmistakably Elvis. Even today, when his recordings play on the radio, listeners of all ages can immediately identify that it's the King singing. Number 8. He broke racial barriers in music. In the rigidly segregated America of the 1950s, music was similarly divided. Radio stations, record stores, and concert venues were all separated by racial lines, with race records for black audiences and pop music for white listeners. Elvis helped break down those walls. Growing up in the predominantly African-American neighborhoods of Tupelo, Mississippi and later Memphis, Tennessee, young Elvis absorbed black musical traditions firsthand. He was a regular attendee at gospel services and would often slip into clubs on Beale Street to hear blues performers. When he began recording, Elvis brought together the sounds of rhythm and blues, gospel and country in a way that had never been done before. His early Sun Records recordings like That's All Right, a cover of a blues song by Arthur Crudup, and Blue Moon of Kentucky, a reworking of a bluegrass standard by Bill Monroe, demonstrated his ability to cross genre and racial boundaries. Critics have debated Elvis's role in race relations for decades. Some have accused him of appropriating black music for profit, while others point out that he always credited his influences and helped introduce black musical styles to white audiences who might never have heard them otherwise. B.B. King, who knew Elvis personally, defended him. Music is owned by the whole universe. It isn't exclusive to the black man or the white man or any other color. It's shared in and by our souls. What's undeniable is that Elvis helped create a new musical landscape where the artificial boundaries between black music and white music began to dissolve. By the time he appeared on the Milton Berle Show in 1956, performing Hound Dog, a song previously recorded by Big Mama Thornton, he was challenging America's musical segregation in a very public way. Number 7. He created the rock star image. Before Elvis, popular musicians weren't cultural icons in the way we understand today. They were entertainers, but they weren't style icons or youth culture leaders. Elvis changed all that by creating the very concept of what it means to be a rock star. His fashion choices alone revolutionized men's style. While mainstream male performers of the early 1950s wore conservative suits and maintained clean-cut images, Elvis embraced a more rebellious look. His pompadour hairstyle, with its signature ducktail, required copious amounts of rose oil and Vaseline to maintain. His fashion sense combined elements of both black and Southern working-class style, pegged pants, loose open-necked shirts, and eventually his famous gold lame suit. Elvis wasn't just selling music, he was selling an attitude, a lifestyle, and a form of self-expression. Teenagers didn't just want to listen to Elvis, they wanted to be Elvis. Young men began growing their hair longer and adopting his clothing style, while young women plastered their walls with his pictures. The merchandising empire that grew around Elvis was unprecedented. His image appeared on everything from lunchboxes to lipstick, from bubblegum cards to bobblehead dolls. During the height of Elvis mania in the late 1950s, there were more than 30 different companies licensed to sell Elvis-themed products. Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis's controversial manager, understood the power of this image and marketed it relentlessly. "I don't sell music," Parker once said. "I sell the Elvis Presley experience." This approach to marketing a musician as a complete cultural package would become the template for every major rock and pop star who followed. Number 6. He dominated multiple entertainment mediums. In today's multimedia entertainment landscape, we're used to stars crossing between music, movies, television, and other platforms. Elvis pioneered this approach to entertainment domination, conquering every medium available in his era. After establishing himself as a recording star, Elvis made his film debut in 1956's Love Me Tender. The film was originally titled The Reno Brothers, but was renamed to capitalize on the success of Elvis's ballad. Though critics were skeptical, audiences flocked to see the singer on the big screen. The film grossed over $4,500,000 on a budget of just $1 million. This success launched Elvis's Hollywood career, which would eventually include 31 feature films. While many of these were formulaic musical comedies with questionable artistic merit, they were consistently profitable. His films from 1956 to 1969 earned over $180 million at the box office, an astronomical sum for that era. Television also fell under Elvis's spell. His 1968 NBC special, now known as the '68 Comeback Special, was a ratings blockbuster that revitalized his career. An estimated 42% of the television viewing audience tuned in to watch Elvis, dressed in black leather, return to his rock and roll roots. His 1973 Aloha from Hawaii special was broadcast via satellite to over 40 countries and seen by an estimated 1 billion viewers. Even radio, which initially banned some of his more provocative recordings, couldn't resist Elvis for long. Between 1956 and 1977, he placed 149 songs on Billboard's Hot 100 CDs chart, with 114 in the top 40 and 40 reaching the top 10. This multi-platform dominance created a feedback loop of success. His music promoted his movies produced hit soundtracks, and television appearances boosted both. It was a blueprint for media domination that artists still follow today. Number 5. He changed what a live concert could be. When Elvis returned to live performing in 1969 after his long hiatus making movies, he transformed what a concert experience could be. His Las Vegas engagements and subsequent arena tours set new standards for live entertainment that influence concert productions to this day. His shows at the International Hotel, later the Las Vegas Hilton, were unlike anything Vegas had seen before. While the city had hosted many famous singers, Elvis created a spectacle on an entirely different scale. He performed with a large band that included a full orchestra, a gospel quartet, the Imperials or J.D. Sumner, and the Stamps, and a rock rhythm section, including guitarist James Burton. His jumpsuit-clad performances combined rock energy with Vegas production values. These shows were immensely successful. His initial 4-week engagement in July-August 1969 broke all existing Las Vegas attendance records. By the time his 7-year relationship with the International Hilton ended, he had performed 837 consecutive sold-out shows before over 2.5 million people. When he took this show on the road, Elvis helped pioneer the arena rock concert. He was among the first solo artists to regularly sell out massive venues like Madison Square Garden in New York, where his 1972 shows sold out in just 4 hours, and the Houston Astrodome. His tours were logistical marvels for their time, with diamond private jets, massive sound and lighting rigs, and an entourage that included dozens of musicians, technicians, and support staff. The ritual elements of an Elvis concert became legendary. The dramatic opening with the theme from 2001, A Space Odyssey, also Sprach Zarathustra. The scarbs he would hand to screaming fans, his karate-inspired stage moves, and his closing refrain of "Elvis has left the building," all became part of rock concert lore. Number 4. He was a trailblazing recording artist. Elvis's impact in the recording studio was just as revolutionary as his public persona. His recording techniques and approach to studio work helped define modern rock production and set new standards for what a pop record could sound like. When Elvis first walked into Sun Records in Memphis in 1953, he paid $3.98 to record 2 songs as a gift for his mother. Sam Phillips' assistant, Marion Kaisker, was impressed enough to make a note: "Good ballad singer, hold." When Phillips finally recorded Elvis properly in 1954, they created magic by accident. During a break in a frustrating session, Elvis began fooling around with an up-tempo version of Arthur Big Boy Crudup's blues number, "That's All Right." Guitarists Scotty Moore and the bassist Bill Black joined in. Phillips, recognizing something special, told them to start over while he recorded. This spontaneous approach characterized Elvis's best recording sessions. Unlike the meticulously arranged pop recordings of the era, Elvis's early work had a raw, immediate quality. He often recorded songs in just a few takes, preserving the energy and spontaneity of a live performance. At RCA Victor, where he moved in 1956, Elvis worked with producer Steve Scholz to create a bigger sound while maintaining that energy. Using the then ineffective technique of tape echo, created by engineer Bill Porter using a second tape machine, they gave Elvis's voice a slight echo or slap back that became part of his signature sound. Elvis was also among the first artists to fully exploit the creative possibilities of the recording studio. His 1957 hit, Jailhouse Rock, features complex microphone techniques, with Elvis moving closer to and further from the mic to create dynamic local effects. By the time of his American Sound studio sessions in 1969, which produced Suspicious Minds and In the Ghetto, he was working with producer Chips Moman to create elements of rock, soul, country, and pop. Number 3. He created the teen idol phenomenon. Before Elvis, there was no such thing as teen idol culture as we understand it today. The very concept of teenagers as a distinct demographic with their own tastes, preferences, and purchasing power was relatively new in the 1950s. Elvis became the prototype for every teen idol who followed, creating both the blueprint and the gold standard. The scene outside his concerts was something entirely new in American culture. Young women screamed, cried, fainted, and sometimes tore at their own clothes or hair in fits of uncontrolled emotion. This phenomenon, which journalists dubbed Elvis Mania, bewildered adults but signaled a cultural shift that positioned teenagers as a powerful force in entertainment. The numbers tell the story of his impact on youth culture. By the end of 1956, he had sold 10 million singles and 4 million albums. Elvis merchandise generated more than $40 million in sales in 1956 to 57 alone, equivalent to over $370 million in today's dollars. His first movie, Love Me Tender, earned back its production costs in just 3 days. What made Elvis connect so powerfully with young people? Unlike the adult crooners who dominated popular music before him, Elvis embodied teenage concerns and emotions. His music expressed the restlessness, sexual frustration, and desire for freedom that characterized adolescence. His infamous hip movements and sneering expressions conveyed a sexuality that was both threatening to adults and thrilling to teenagers. "The kids go for him," explained New York radio DJ Alan Freed in 1956. "He's different when youngsters see Elvis on stage. They recognize one of their own up there. He's not some adult singing down to them." Elvis's impact on teen culture was so profound that even his haircut became a generational symbol. When he was drafted into the Army in 1958 and received the regulation military haircut, it made front-page news across America. The Memphis Press Scimitar's headline read, HAIRTODAYGONETOMORROW, above photos of the transformation. Number 2. He made rock and roll mainstream. Rock and roll existed before Elvis, but it was largely confined to the cultural margins. Artists like Fats, Domino, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, and Bill Haley were laying the groundwork, but the music was still considered niche, dangerous, or race music. Elvis changed all that by bringing rock and roll squarely into the American mainstream. When Elvis appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show on September 9, 1956, he performed to an estimated audience of 60 million people, about 82.6% of the total television viewing audience, and a record for the time. This wasn't a niche musical moment, it was a national cultural event. His commercial success was unprecedented. In 1956 alone, he had 5-pound-1 singles: Heartbreak Hotel, I Want You, I Need You, I Love You, Don't Be Cruel, Hound Dog, and Love Me Tender. Don't Be Cruel and Hound Dog were two sides of the same record, and together they spent 11 weeks at pound 1, a record that stood until 1992. What Elvis accomplished was remarkable. He made rock and roll palatable to the mainstream without diluting its essential energy. His sound was just familiar enough that parents could tolerate it, especially on his ballads, yet revolutionary enough that young people embraced it as their own. His appearance was similarly calibrated. While his movements and expressions pushed boundaries, he maintained other aspects of respectability. He was unfailingly polite in interviews, referring to reporters as "Sir" or "Ma'am." He spoke openly about his love for his mother and his religious faith. When he appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show for the third time, he even agreed to sing the gospel standard "Peace in the Valley" at Sullivan's request. This combination, revolutionary music, delivered by someone who could at times present a non-threatening image, helped rock and roll complete its journey from the margins to the mainstream of American culture. After Elvis, rock and roll wasn't just a passing fad. It was the dominant form of popular music, a position it would hold for decades. Number 1. He left a legacy that continues to influence culture. Nearly 5 decades after his death in 1977, Elvis Presley remains one of the most recognizable and influential figures in popular culture. His impact extends far beyond music into film, fashion, language, and even American identity itself. The numbers alone are staggering. Elvis has sold over 1 billion records worldwide, more than any solo artist in history. He received 14 Grammy nominations and won 3 Grammy Awards. The Recording Industry Association of America, RIA, has certified 90 of his recordings as gold, platinum, or multi-platinum. His Graceland home attracts over 600,000 visitors annually, making it the second most visited house in America after the White House. But his legacy can't be measured by statistics alone. Elvis fundamentally changed how we think about popular music and celebrity. His synthesis of different American musical traditions, gospel, blues, country, and pop, helped create the template for rock and roll as we know it. His performance style influenced generations of artists across genres, from the Beatles, who idolized him, to Bruno Mars. His impact on American culture was so profound that we now divide popular music into two eras, before Elvis and after Elvis. Before him, popular music was largely the domain of professional songwriters and trained vocalists. After Elvis, authenticity, personal expression, and raw emotion became the valued currencies of pop music. Even language itself bears the mark of Elvis. Phrases like "all shook up," "that's all right, mama," and "a hunka burning love" have entered the lexicon through his songs. His name has become a shorthand for greatness. We refer to Michael Jackson as the King of Pop and James Brown as the Godfather of Soul in reference to Elvis's title, the King of Rock and Roll. His cultural significance transcends entertainment. When the U.S. Postal Service held a contest in 1992 to determine which version of Elvis should appear on a commemorative stamp, Young Elvis or Las Vegas Elvis, over 1.2 million people voted. Young Elvis won. In 2018, President Donald Trump awarded Elvis the Presidential Medal of Freedom posthumously, acknowledging his cultural contributions to the nation. Perhaps the most telling sign of Elvis's enduring legacy is the fact that Graceland has become a pilgrimage site, attracting visitors from around the world. Each year, on the anniversary of his death, thousands gather for a candlelight vigil to honor his memory. Few cultural figures inspire this kind of devotion decades after their passing. What ultimately secured Elvis's title as the King of Rock and Roll was not just his groundbreaking music, his non-hit performances, or his cultural impact, but the fact that his influence has endured and evolved. New generations continue to discover his music, performers continue to emulate his style, and his name remains synonymous with the revolutionary spirit of rock and roll itself. As John Lennon famously said, "Before Elvis, there was nothing." After Elvis, popular music and culture would never be the same again.